Hi, I'm Eleanor Ann Sweet, Hidden Sales and Revenue Expert, Turbocharged Sales, and President and CEO of the Remington Group. Welcome today. We're going to talk about Modular 3, which is client retention. So let's get into today's message and see what we're going to learn. All right, Modular 3, understanding the value of losing a customer. Lesson 1. Lesson 2, time and how to ask for a referral. Lesson 3, turbocharged individual customer growth. I like to always start my sessions with a quote. So here's today's quote. Little happens in a relationship until the individuals learn to trust each other. David W. Johnson. We've talked about this before, but this is really the essence of know, like, and trust. So we have to develop a relationship with someone before they'll want to buy from us, because they're not going to buy just on the product. They're going to buy in the integrity of you, the person. Do they believe what you're saying? Are you eliminating and comforting them on risks they may perceive that they might hypothetically have on the purchase? And you're explaining to them the outcome, the transformation, and the benefit of working with you on either your product or your service. So that happens through the heart. It doesn't happen through the brain and the intellect. They have to emotionally trust you before they logically can follow you. Customer attrition. What does this mean? It's the disappearing customer. It can be called sometimes as customer churn, customer turnover, customer cancellation, customer defection. So every business in the course of business will lose customers. But the question is to basically be in touch with your customers enough to know when you're losing them. I suspect in this current recession, we lost some customers along the way. People got frightened. They didn't want to necessarily pay the expense for your product or your service at this time because of the uncertainty. Don't give up on those customers. What I'm going to talk about in this lesson is talking about how we can re-engage with them and possibly bring them back as customers. If you can recapture a customer you have lost, it is much more beneficial to you financially and will cost you less of an investment than having to start from scratch and from ground zero with someone you don't have a relationship, who doesn't know, like, and trust you in terms of a customer that you would be acquiring or a prospect. So how does this work? You basically, if you're going to look at, you want to analyze your customer attrition rate. And here's the formula over here on the right. You're going to take your total customers beginning in a time period. So let's say we're going to do this for a month. We're going to subtract the customers at the end of the time period. And then we're going to divide it by the total number of customers from the beginning. So here's an example. Let's say we started the month with 650 customers. Let's say we ended the month with 600 customers. So that would mean we lost 50 customers. So at that point, we would take 50 divided by 650, the beginning number of the month, and that would tell us what our attrition rate was. And in this case, our attrition rate would come out to be 7.7%. Realistically, you probably would not lose 50 customers in a month. That would probably be a better example for over a year, but you get my point. So if you can use this formula on a monthly basis, it'll help you kind of keep track. And then after a while, after a 12-month period, you can look back from the previous year and you can compare them. Right now, starting in, let's say, hypothetically, March of this year to the period we're in now, going through the first 6 months of next year would probably be a rather unique period. And after mid-year, you're going to see it start to stabilize and you'll have better tracking information. But it still will be interesting to know what you're going through now, because these are the customers you want to reach out to, and you also need to recoup this business in some ways and the dollars for your business. The average American business loses 15% of its customer base a year. Where are they going and why are they leaving? 68% stop buying from you and go to another due to poor service. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, you could be unaware of this. This is another reason why you want to stay in touch with your customer consistently over a period of time. 14% leave because of an unsatisfactory dispute or complaint that was never resolved. 9% will leave because of price. And that number may have gone up a little bit now in this time period that we're talking, because people are more sensitive to price than they were a year ago. And 5% will go elsewhere based on a recommendation, usually from a friend. And unfortunately, we use 1% that die. Why are these people leaving? If you add all these numbers up, 82% leave because of customer service problem. And customer service problem is something that you can have the majority of the control over. How are you interacting with them? What's your customer experience? How is it defined? And make sure that your whole team is on the same page. And how do we define our customer experience? This is, as a resource, was from US News and World Report. All right, let's look at the simple math. What does this mean to you? So let's say hypothetically, it costs you $120 to get a customer. That means you spent advertising, you sent out some mailers, you went to some chamber events, whatever it was. Let's say the average cost for your customer was $120. When you lose that customer, in order to get that customer back, you have to invest another $120. So now we have the initial cost of the $120 investment. We now have to go make that same investment to get a customer back. So at this point, you basically have spent $240 to get one customer, because you're trying to get back to having the one customer. Now I want to take it a step further. The third step is the referral. The average in this country goal for a small business person is to try and get one referral from one customer a year. So we now lost our customer, of which we spent $120 to get. We're now going to have to invest another $120 to get a replacement customer. And oh, by the way, we lost the $120 that would have come in from the new referral. So we have to spend $120 there to go find the referral that would have come in. So at that point, you're up to $720. Let's look at a customer and referral system. You can use this in terms of getting a customer, keeping a customer, and also getting a referral to get a new customer. Attention. You need to be spending attention on your current customer to keep them happy, and you need to spend attention on them to have a rapport to be able to do the ask to get the referral. You want to focus on interest. A lot of this traditionally has been, in the past, has been accomplished over a meal, where you get to find out, where did your kids go to school? Where did you meet your husband or wife? What type of dog do you have, or what type of cat do you have? Where do you spend your vacations? What's your favorite football team? What's your favorite soccer team? Whatever it is, you're building a rapport. And you have to have the desire to work on the relationship. It's not something you just do in the first meeting and then it's all taken care of. It's a long-term commitment. It's a desire to work on developing a genuine relationship with them, and it's a desire to listen and find out not so much what they think they need or want, but how your problem can truly solve something that they may not even be aware of. So you need to be also consistent about your time commitment and the energy going in to all of these aspects of building the relationship. And in turn, you'll have a transaction, which in turn will give your organization money. Think about this. If you increase your retention by 5%, you can increase your profits 25 to 100%. Bain & Company Also, Harvard Business Review did a joint project together and came up with this information. So if you can keep that 5% of the customers you're leaving, look at what it does to profit. This is something, particularly now, is one of the best ways to increase and recoup the profit that you have lost in this current recession, is to go back, make sure all your customers are happy and that you're keeping them happy. So you don't have to go through the hurdle of losing them and having to invest in recapturing them via new people. Customer delight. Love this expression because that's really the essence of what we're all doing. When we're reaching out to someone, we want to show value. We want to show how we can make a difference in their life with our product or service. And we want them to be happy. So here are 5 key ways to approach it. On all appointments, be it phone, Zoom, or in person, be 15 minutes early or on time for the appointment. In the case of the phone, obviously, you're going to call on time, not 15 minutes early. Be genuine. Build a personal rapport and be a good listener. Sometimes the customer has an idea of what they think they want, but what they need can be truly something else. And you can uncover this by good listening and help guide them toward how your product can truly benefit a need that they may not be aware of. Answer the questions promptly and keep all commitments. If you don't know the answer, don't try and fake it. Just say, I don't know it. I'll need to get back to you. Give them a realistic time period on all commitments or documents that you're going to follow up with, and then deliver on the time that you say you're going to. If for some reason there's some problem and you cannot get the information in the normal channels which you expected, reach out to them again and tell them you're going to be delayed and give them another time to expect to receive the information. Always deliver and over-deliver and provide strong value. Try to exceed the expectations of what they're expecting, and they will always be thrilled, happy, and be loyal customers. Support it by offering exceptional customer service. And when I talk about that, it also means that once you do the transaction, be it the product or the service, you also want to continually follow up with them. It's not just after 30 days, I'm so glad you're happy, and walk away. Stay in touch with them, reach out to them with touch points of additional information, additional product, industry information, or any way that you can help them, or even on a personal level of things that you're aware of that they're interested in. And stay in touch following the transaction, as I said. That's the most important thing to do. I want to talk about, well, what brings us together to create that know, like, and trust. And it's things that we have in common with people where we're similar, okay, where we uncover things that we may know or have in common, things that we like about them, and it just gives us a comfort zone. So an example here is my father had his own business. He was an entrepreneur, small business person. He was a custom interior decorator dealing with high-end clients, affluent clients. So he had a natural interest of helping others. And so he was involved with my mother with a lot of fundraising activities, philanthropic situations, and ways that he actually just naturally interacted with his customer base. So they would see him at these events in the community. They would know what he was doing to make things better, and they trusted him. And so it really helped bring a very strategic target market to him because he was moving in the same circles. In the case of myself, my first position out of school was working for GE, and then I worked for Salton. But both those companies, one was in the hardware industry, one was in the houseware industry, but I basically was an executive with a marketing and sales background in consumer products. So when I went over to start my search business in that same industry, they were very comfortable with me because they knew my background. I was kind of one of them. I came from the industry, and as I expanded into the leadership area, it was the same thing. So I just want to share with you, look around you, look at your markets, look at your customers, and think about what are their ways that I can be in the same circles that they're moving in terms of bumping into them or supporting their causes. Nonprofits, as you know, is a great way for people to see you and be comfortable and have a similar cause. Your church organization, school organizations, going to children's sports activities and interacting with other parents. Another thing is you want to be visible with them even when you're not around. So what does this mean? And I put my logo over here. It wasn't so much to say, okay, look at me and look at my business while we're doing this webinar. It was to show you an example of when you see that, you've seen it before, and you know that that's my logo and this is my business. It's the same thing with your logo. I have a friend of mine that every year faithfully sends me a small pocket calendar for her business. It has her business emblem on it, and so I know that that's from her. If I'm not going to use it, I'm going to put it in my briefcase because it's a smaller version of a calendar. I could give it to somebody. It's tactile. It came in the mail. It's kind of bulky. You can feel it, you know, above a traditional flat envelope size, and you're getting a little bit of a mini gift. Holiday cards. In the past, and I always like to send holiday cards out around Thanksgiving, for it's a season of gratitude. I know people that will send cards out the beginning of the year in January or February when the rush is over from December. And I know people that send out birthday cards to all their customers or do half year birthdays. You could do both. We've talked about it in the past and in other modulars. Thank you cards. Thank you cards for meeting people. Hey, it was great seeing you at the Chamber of It. It was great seeing you at the American Cancer Dinner, things like that. And just, you know, you include your card. If you're doing the Bob Berg thank you cards that we've talked about in the past, you basically are just only using the card because it's branded. It has your company name on it and your phone number. And I will make sure that in the materials later on the membership website, I'll include an extra copy of that for you. And then we have branded postcards. We talked about this in one of the previous modules, using it for direct mail. So you send out a branded postcard. We're having a year-end special on all ink orders. We're having a special on, you know, first of the year car insurance. Again, it's going to have your logo. They may not buy it right away, but they're going to keep something like that on their desk. I also encourage you, if you do a branded postcard and you're doing a special on it, you make it a limited time period. I would suggest something about 2 to 3 months, 60 to 90 days, because you don't want it to go too long. Another way to stay visible to your customer is create checklists which have your logo. People love checklists, okay? So if, let's say you're in the business where you take care of water damage in basements. So give me the 5 top tips of how to avoid having a leaky basement. If you're an accountant, give me the 6 things I need to be aware of for the tax year for 2021. And you put your logo on the top and you put your name on the bottom, you know, your name, your email, and in the footer there again, you rebrand it with your company name. Special reports are a little bit longer. They could be 2 to 3 pages. There again, you're branding them with your logo. You're creating and supplying information that's going to add value to their life, be it industry information or specifically targeted to their product category. Here's a great way to look in terms of a simplistic way of saying, okay, what are the steps to get me to retention success, to increasing keeping my current customers? Create a relationship and trust first. That's where it all starts. And you want to remember to be authentic. Focus on eliminating the risk or the uncertainty that they're expressing to you as you develop that relationship. So when you're talking about your product, your service, your idea, in terms of how you're going to help their business, they may say, how do I know this is going to work? Or I'm not sure we're going to get those type of results. Particularly in this type of market, see if you can create some type of guarantee on promising them that you will support those results happening. Or if you want to do a situation like, I actually just saw this on TV, I think it was like 2 months ago. There's some of the car companies right now are saying, we'll sell you a car and you can take it home and have it for 30 days. And if you don't like it, bring it back. Well, how much better could that be? So look at how you can integrate that type of mechanism into your sales process. And last, build confidence and security. And one of the ways to build confidence and security is to have your product and service or idea deliver the way you're projecting it for them. Having consistency with all your follow-up and showing that you're really there for a team player. You're not just there to get the sales. You're there on a long term to help them build and grow their business. This is Dale Carnegie, and he wrote the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The book has been around for years. I don't know. I think it's been maybe from the 1920s or something. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but it's been around for a long time. It is a classic. I own the book. I read a lot of books. I'm not sure if I've ever read the book from cover to cover, but I highly suggest going to your library or going online and getting an audio download. And that's a really easy way to get his message. But it's a timeless message. And what's the essence of what he's saying is he's showing us how to build rapport, how to build friendships, how to have genuine, authentic relationships. And what does it mean to your customer? Your customer wants you to, is basically saying, make me feel important. And that's why you have to remember that it's never about you, it's about them. And it's about helping them look great by solving a problem, making money, or saving money for their organization. Here's a great example when I was talking earlier about, okay, you have your current customers, which we could, this module is called appropriately client retention. Next module is going to be client acquisition. So we have our current customers, and then we're always looking for new customers or prospects. But what I'm showing you here is, if you had a customer who you lost, you have a 20 to 40% probability of recapturing that customer and having them come back and purchase from you. If you talk about, we're going to go out now and do some prospecting and work on client acquisition, when I approach someone, I have a 5 to 20% probability that they will end up buying from me and become a customer. That's a minimum of a 20% differential. So if you're talking about return on investment or return on time, it's always more efficient to spend more time recapturing your lost customers and put a little more emphasis there than on acquiring new customers. And most people don't realize this. This, to me, is a big aha moment. So let's talk about getting a customer back. First of all, one of the great areas to look for new customers or to find out about customers that have left is, I would say, look in your email program, because you're going to have people that have unsubscribed. So that's a very subtle way that they've raised their hand and they said, you know what, for whatever reason at this time, this is not important to me. And a lot of people forget that. The people just unsubscribed, and then we keep going on and we're sending out more emails, we're going to more events, we're interacting with people, and we keep building our email list. But I really encourage you to go into your email list. If you have them segmented, even better, because then it tells you which situation and which market, and you can export your unsubscribed emails. Then go back into your database and start looking those people up. So those would be for the people that have left, that you were not aware of, or you don't know why they left. So what we're trying to do here, the goal is to find out why they left and to see if we can correct a wrong. So if you have a customer that you know has left and you had a situation, then you want to do a verbal and a written apology to the customer for whatever the problem was. Even if you really feel in the long run they were at fault, there's the old adage, the customer is always right. And particularly in an economy like now. Unless you're compromising your core values of dealing with someone that you feel is not share a very strong core value or business ethics than you do, I would encourage you to go back and see if you could re-engage. Things may have changed. You may have a different perspective and they may have a different perspective. And you also may have changed your product, service, or idea to the point that maybe it's a better fit and maybe it wasn't a good fit at the time and they thought it was. But go back and try and re-engage. And don't be embarrassed. This is just being a smart business person. The other thing is that if you truly have a purpose to serve your market and to help make a difference in their lives with your product and your service and your idea, because you know it will, then you have a moral obligation to stretch outside of your comfort zone here and to reach back and try and re-engage and recapture that relationship, because at one point they knew you, they liked you, and they trust you, and that is worth a lot. Number two, basically you're going to say to them when you reach out to them, and I also encourage a phone call first or a face-to-face meeting, and also follow up with a written apology. So now we'll say we're talking, and we're going to say, what can we do to win back your business? Or who can we talk with and find out exactly why you decided to switch? So this would be the case of, let's say you're friends with the president and CEO, but this was a purchasing agent level of where you had this transaction. So if the buyer switched or you didn't know who made the final decision, this would be a good question to find out who was the real decision maker here in terms of why you're no longer doing business. Once you have the answer to that question, those questions, then you can again communicate in writing the changes you've made. So think about the reasons and the feedback they're telling you what they need or what makes sense. Now, obviously, you're not going to do this if it doesn't put you in a profitable situation. Sometimes there are business decisions made on a short-term basis that are not profitable for the long-range profitability, and that's going to be a business decision you're going to have to work through with your team. Ask the customer once you've presented I would do it verbally and then in writing, if the changes were enough to earn the business back. The odds are, just out of pride, they're going to say no initially. But I don't want you to be dissuaded. I want you to know that at least you started to rekindle a relationship, you started to open the door again, and you stay in touch and you keep trying to offer new value, listen to what they're saying, and working on rebuilding that relationship.